Tonight, we're pulling back the damp, smoky curtain of time to ask, would your modern self actually survive life in a Viking longhouse? Spoiler alert, probably not. So before you cozy up, take a second to like and subscribe, but only if you enjoy a bit of historical misery. Leave a comment with where you're watching from. I love seeing how far this strange, soggy adventure travels. Now dim the lights. Turn on a fan if you want that nice, low, historical hum. Imagine yourself not wrapped in soft sheets or surrounded by climate-controlled silence, but standing in front of a structure that looks like it grew out of the earth. A longhouse, low and looming, with a roof so thickly blanketed in turf it nearly vanishes into the gray sky. The light is pale and watery, offering no warmth. Your clothes, very modern and very wrong for this situation, already feel hopelessly inadequate. Wind whips in from a nearby fjord, bringing with it the tang of salt and something burnt and vaguely unpleasant. Chickens glare at you with what feels like judgment. The ground is churned mud. There's no cozy welcome mat, just a heavy wooden door that groans as you push it open. No bell, just you stepping into the dark. And it is dark. Immediately, you're hit by a wall of smoke and the kind of warm, wet, living smell that speaks of animals, cooking, and people who don't believe in deodorant. A long central fire pit glows dimly down the center of the room, offering light, heat, and an astonishing amount of eye-watering haze. The ceiling arches high above, but the smoke doesn't seem to care. It swirls around your face, clinging to your hair and settling into your clothes like it plans to stay forever. Your feet sink slightly into the uneven dirt floor. Let's call it textured. Benches line the walls, covered in furs of uncertain age and hygiene. The hearth, called a landgeld, burns away, but even with all this flame, the cold lurks in the corners of the room like a patient predator. Viking longhouses weren't built for comfort. They were built for survival. Long, narrow, and crammed with people, tools, and sometimes livestock, they functioned as homes, workplaces, and social spaces all at once. You might be wondering about the smell. Let's just say that if walls could sweat, these ones would smell like boiled sheep and regret. You spot some household tools leaning casually against the wall. Axes, spears, a shield or two. It's not exactly IKEA in here. The walls, made of timber and wattle and daub, are drafty despite the insulation. And though the turf roof was decent at keeping heat in, it also invited in a delightful ecosystem of bugs, mold, and the occasional leaking patch of snowmelt. Near the door, your eyes catch a small bone talisman half trodden into the mud. Maybe it's an amulet for luck. Maybe it's lunch. It's hard to say in this light, but this isn't a curated experience. This is someone's real, lived-in home. The people here don't notice you, or pretend not to. Their voices echo in Old Norse, rough and musical, and you're hit with the growing certainty that you're not prepared for this. Not just the smells and cold, but the work. The endless, back-breaking, repetitive work. You haven't even found a place to sit. Or worse, sleep. The longhouse isn't a single-family home. It's a crowded communal space with unclear rules, no privacy, and barely enough furs to go around. As you squint through the gloom, figures move like shadows through thick smoke. Occasionally, someone is illuminated by the firelight, just long enough for you to notice the layers of rough wool, the dirt-smeared faces, the long, tangled hair. Then they vanish back into the dark like ghosts. The walls aren't smooth. They're patched with clay, straw, and something that looks suspiciously like dried dung. Excellent for insulation, less excellent for vibes. Every inch of space is functional. You see a loom against one wall, a bundle of dried fish near another. There's no clear kitchen, bedroom, or workshop. It's all one big muddle, and every surface carries the scent of effort, life, and decay. Your modern thermostat-loving soul is screaming. You miss your couch. You miss your air filter. You miss being able to open a window without inviting in a blizzard or a goat. Here, drafts creep in from every crevice. The fire helps, but only barely. You start to understand why the Vikings wrapped themselves in layer after layer of wool. It wasn't about fashion. It was about survival. A man passes you, huge, bearded, and wrapped in layers that smell like smoke and something faintly offensive. He doesn't look twice, just grunts and steps into the cold evening, his boots squelching in the mud. You stand frozen in the doorway, trying not to breathe too deeply, blinking against the smoke. You haven't even made it to bedtime, and already it's too much. The overwhelming otherness of it all, the dirt, the dark, the noise, it makes your skin crawl in a way that's hard to explain. You were dropped here with no warning, no preparation, and every instinct is screaming that this is a bad idea. And yet, there's something captivating about the rawness of it. Something so visceral, so human. And this is only the beginning. The smoke still clinging to your lungs as you inch further into the longhouse, eyes watering, breath shallow. You can't tell if you're crying or just reacting to centuries of poor ventilation. Either way, your modern lungs are filing complaints. But this was daily life. The smoke, while suffocating, served purposes, keeping insects at bay, preserving the timbers, masking even worse smells. Not that it succeeds. Beneath the eye-stinging smog, there's a complex perfume of old sweat, damp wool, and something sour, maybe pickled fish or perhaps someone's boots. The fire in the landfill burns not just wood, but likely peat, dried animal dung, and whatever else will catch. The result? A scent that settles into your bones like disappointment. Despite the fire's glow, the cold remains stubborn. The warmth barely reaches the far corners of the longhouse, where shadows linger and your sense of orientation fails. You keep imagining the walls are closing in, but it's just the smoke again, and your brain reminding you that oxygen is important. The floor is mud and packed earth. Sometimes you find flat stones, likely placed to help with footing. More often, you just slip slightly on something best left unidentified. Discarded scraps, leather, wood shavings, bits of food, dot the floor like confetti at a very grim, very medieval party. Cleanliness, as you understand it, doesn't exist here. It's not neglect. It's just not a priority when survival is eating up all available bandwidth. You start tuning into the sounds, not just the crackle of the fire, but the tapestry of daily Viking life. Low, guttural conversation in Old Norse. The chesty cough of someone across the room. A bleat, definitely a goat, hopefully from the livestock partition. The distant, rhythmic thump of something being pounded or ground. Human, animal, and domestic sounds merge into a soundtrack of relentless subsistence. Textures jump out at you now. The benches, those grim wooden platforms lining the walls, are splintery and worn. The furs, patchy and matted, look like they've absorbed every possible bodily fluid over several generations. You brush a finger along a nearby post. It's rough, unpolished. The residue on your skin feels sticky with years. You immediately wish you had a gallon of hand sanitizer. But there's beauty here too, in strange and surprising ways. Tucked into a crevice in the wall is a small wooden bird, delicately carved, worn smooth by time and fingers. A child's toy, a charm. Who knows? It's personal, intimate. Evidence that, even amid the grime and labor, people still made things just to hold or remember or love. You begin to notice the way the room is arranged. Not haphazard, intentional if subtle. A loom to one side. Bundles of dried herbs suspended from the rafters. Fish hung for drying. This is a workspace, a social space, a sleeping area, all in one. There are no labels, no partitions. The divisions exist only in custom and memory. You're an outsider, and you understand none of the codes. And it's cold. Not sharp and bracing like winter wind, but a soggy, marrow-deep chill that seeps upward from the ground and down from the turf roof. The fire is central in every sense, but still fails to conquer the cold. You wrap your arms around yourself instinctively. The wool these people wear isn't a fashion choice. It's a matter of not freezing to death. Another figure detaches from the shadows. A man, broad-shouldered, face obscured by a beard that looks capable of independent movement. He looks at you, your clean clothes, your soft, confused expression, and grunts. It's not unfriendly, just dismissive. You're not interesting, you're not useful, you don't belong. He pushes past and disappears out the door, leaving a trail of steam in his wake. You let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding. The sense of being deeply, chronically out of place is starting to wear on you. You haven't even figured out where to sit, let alone how to sleep. But bedtime is approaching. You see people beginning to settle in. The same benches used during the day double as beds. Some have furs. Others are just bare wood. A few individuals cluster near the fire, clearly the most desirable sleeping real estate. Warmth is status. The further from the flames, the colder it gets. And the draftier, guess where you're going? You edge toward an unclaimed spot on a bench. It's stained. It smells like something you'd rather not identify. The fur laid over it is patchy, stiff in some places, damp in others. You hover for a moment before finally sitting down. The wood beneath you is hard, unforgiving. Comfort isn't the goal here. Endurance is. A large Viking flops down beside you, sighing in a way that makes your ribs vibrate. He doesn't acknowledge you, but the heat radiating from his massive frame is immediate. You brace yourself for the rest of the slumber party, snoring, coughing, the occasional accidental elbow. Privacy is a myth. Personal space, a luxury you've left far behind. The communal nature of the longhouse is total. You share food, fire, chores, and now sleep. You wonder briefly what the etiquette is. Should you say goodnight, offer to share your lumpy sheep skin, or just curl into the smallest version of yourself and hope nobody notices? You opt for invisibility. The fire dims. Shadows stretch longer. The longhouse becomes a cavern of noises, shifting furs, deep snores, a persistent whistle from someone's sinuses. The scent of smoke and old bodies thickens. Your benchmate exhales and the smell is robust. Sleep comes slowly, not real sleep, a sort of wary, twitchy half-doze. Every time you drift off, you're jolted awake by a snore, a cough, or the creeping realization that a mouse might be investigating your boot. When you finally do sleep, it's restless. Vivid dreams twist through the smoke-filled darkness. You dream of furs that move, shadows that speak, and cold that curls into your lungs like fog. You wake several times, one eye open, heart pounding. You wouldn't last a day. And the worst part, it's still night. At some point, you must have dozed off. Because now, light is seeping into the cracks of the walls, thin and pale like a sickly ghost. The kind of light that doesn't bring warmth, just visibility. And as it filters through the gaps in the wooden structure, it gently announces the arrival of another day. Another round in the endless, grinding routine of Viking life. You feel every part of your body before you even open your eyes. Your back aches from the wooden bench. Your joints protest the cold. Your hair smells like wood smoke and stale humanity, and you're fairly certain something was nesting near your head during the night. You shift, groaning quietly, and immediately catch the movement of others stirring. All around you, people are waking, stretching, preparing to rise. There are no alarms, no lights flicking on. Just a slow wave of motion, a collective acknowledgement that the sun is up, the fire is low, and the chores are already late. And then activity. Sudden and brutal. Within minutes, the longhouse transforms. What was a cavern of sleeping bodies is now a flurry of motion. People are adding logs to the hearth, sweeping ashes aside with handmade brooms, dragging cloaks over their shoulders, and stomping boots onto feet calloused from years of labor. There's talking, but no one's bothering to speak quietly. You're still blinking sleep from your eyes, and someone's already flinging dried fish into a pot over the fire. Breakfast isn't pancakes, it's whatever's left. Bits of smoked meat, sour porridge, root vegetables if you're lucky. Food is functional here, fuel, not comfort. You're handed a slab of something that smells vaguely of fish and wood glue. You eat it anyway. Hunger doesn't care about flavor. The air is no fresher in the morning. If anything, the night has steeped it further. The tang of unwashed bodies and fermented breath is sharper now. There's movement toward the door, people trickling out into the gray light. The day's work begins early, and there's no gentle ramp-up. No coffee, no warm shower, just frost-bitten breath and the familiar weight of expectation. You're not given instructions. Nobody hands you a checklist or a guide. You're just expected to know, because everyone else does. They've known since childhood what the day demands. You, meanwhile, shuffle awkwardly behind a group headed toward the river, hoping you don't step somewhere awful or offend anyone with your uselessness. And you are useless. You realize that quickly. You don't know how to gut a fish, split wood efficiently, or clean an iron blade. You don't know how to carry water in a yoke without spilling half of it. Your fingers are soft and clumsy. Your posture is wrong. Your breath fogs up with effort after only a few paces. At the river, others work with methodical efficiency. Nets are being checked, lines repaired, buckets dipped and hauled. Your modern sensibilities, used to taps, buttons, and thermostats, are no help here. You squat awkwardly near the edge, cupping freezing water into a bucket like a sad gremlin, your hands going numb almost instantly. Someone laughs at you. Not cruelly, just with the kind of weary amusement reserved for people who don't know better. You can't even argue. They're right. You trudge back with your half-filled bucket, slipping once on a rock and soaking your foot. The cold shoots through your leg like an accusation. And this is just one chore. Just one moment in a day full of them. Back at the Longhouse, more activity. Someone's repairing a saddle. Another is twisting coarse fibers into rope. You're handed a pile of wool and shown, without a word, how to begin combing it. The wool is greasy with lanolin. Your fingers snag on burrs and dirt. The repetitive motion should be soothing, but it's not. Your muscles are already tired. Your breath feels tight in your chest, and you're hungry again. This isn't a place built for idleness. Every action has a purpose. Every movement is about preparation, preservation, or production. There's no multitasking, no background music, no half-listening while scrolling a phone. Your attention is required fully and constantly. Children move through the space carrying baskets and kindling. Even they have roles, tasks, responsibilities. You envy their adaptability. They were born to this. You were born to air conditioning and Google. As midday nears, the sky doesn't brighten. It simply shifts from gray to lighter gray. You pause, stretching your aching neck, and notice the way everyone else just keeps going. No complaints. No moaning about back pain or skipped meals. Just motion and habit and duty. And something else, something surprising. Despite the hardship, there's a rhythm to it, a simplicity in the repetition. You begin to see the patterns, the way people communicate through glances, nods, small gestures. There's no time for eloquence, so everything is practical, direct, honest. There's an unspoken solidarity here. You may not belong, but they do, and it gives them strength. Still, by now, your whole body feels like it's vibrating with fatigue, and the sun, weak as it is, hasn't even begun to set. You're not even halfway through the day, and you're already wondering how anyone managed to do this for a lifetime. Afternoon bleeds into evening slowly, as if the sun itself is too tired to leave. The light outside grows even paler, more diffused, until it's impossible to tell whether it's dusk or just another grim phase of daylight. The cold returns, stronger now, creeping into your wet sock, into the fabric of your soul. You squelch when you walk. Inside the Longhouse, the fire is revived. Sparks jump and snap in the low air, and the smoke returns to its favorite pastime, choking everyone slowly. People are coming back from fields, from traps, from chopping wood and hauling things you can't name. There's no end-of-work bell, no leisure hour, just a shifting of tasks. Someone is cooking again. More stew, probably involving root vegetables, salted meat, and a level of blandness that would make a nutritionist weep with joy and a chef weep with despair. The pot hangs over the fire, bubbling, and the scent is both welcome and exhausting. Everything smells vaguely of onions and endurance. The Longhouse is louder now. Tired voices, low laughter, the occasional argument muttered through clenched teeth. Children crawl over benches and furs. A woman with arms like fence posts braids someone's hair by firelight, her fingers fast and unforgiving. A man is sharpening a knife, stone rasping against blade in a rhythm that seems older than time. The tools don't get a break either. You sit awkwardly in a corner, trying not to be in the way, trying not to breathe too deeply, trying to seem smaller. Your legs ache. Your shoulders are knotted from unfamiliar tasks. You smell like wet wool and embarrassment. Nobody seems to mind you, but nobody's including you either. You're like a shadow that's overstayed its welcome. And then a story begins. Not a story like you know them. No plot twist. No dragons. Just a slow, steady voice. An older man with a face carved by wind and time, telling of a voyage. Of rowing until your arms gave out. Of storms that swallowed whole ships. Of gods watching from clouds like indifferent parents. The fire crackles in response, throwing orange light onto his face as others lean in. You don't understand the words, not exactly, but the cadence, the weight of them sinks into your bones. This is how they remember. This is how knowledge survives, not with books but with breath and fire and memory. You can't help but lean in too, drawn by the warmth and the rhythm and the rawness of it. For a moment you forget the cold. You forget your wet foot, your aching hands, your uselessness. You're just another listener in the dark, absorbing the weight of someone else's life. When the story ends, there's no applause, just a silence that feels earned. Then movement again. The stew is served, thick, grayish, surprisingly edible. You're handed a wooden bowl and a chunk of rough bread. You eat fast like everyone else. No chatting, no savoring. The food is gone in minutes and your stomach, while no longer empty, remains unimpressed. Now it's dark, properly dark. The kind of dark that swallows you whole. Only the fire remains, flickering and fighting the inevitable. You feel it in your core, that modern fear of being disconnected, of silence, of nothingness. But they don't. They embrace it. Some begin to pray, others hum or tend to gear. No one looks for a distraction. There are none. Just the day behind them, the night ahead, and the hope that nothing awful happens while they sleep. You realize then, this life doesn't stop. It doesn't pause or reflect or offer comfort. It just is, cold and hard and necessary. You are not cut out for it. Your hands still sting. Your back is still sore. Your spirit feels like it's been sandpapered. And yet, there's a quiet resilience here. Not heroism, not glory. Just the stubborn act of continuing, of waking up and doing it again because nobody else will. It's unromantic. It's exhausting. It's human. They aren't superhumans. They aren't warriors all the time. They're survivors. And that, it turns out, is much harder. Night reclaims the longhouse with the slow patience of something that knows it always wins. The fire has been fed and coaxed into a steady glow, but the light it gives is small and flickering. More suggestion than illumination. People begin settling again, some curling onto benches, others stretching out on the dirt floor with only a thin fur between them and the frozen ground. The air feels heavier now. Closer. You sit motionless, half afraid that if you lie down, the cold might just finish the job it started earlier. You try to stretch your legs, but even that hurts. It's not a dramatic pain, not an injury. Just the dull, persistent ache of a body unused to labor. A modern body, a soft body. Around you, the sounds begin to die slowly, like the last coals of a fire. Conversations taper off into murmurs, murmurs into silence. A child whimpers, someone shifts and coughs. A dog, where did the dog come from, settles near the door with a grunt that sounds like it carries centuries of complaint. There's no nightlight. No hum of appliances, no glowing screens, just blackness and the muted pulse of other people's breath. You lie down, stiff and uncertain, and let the cold bench welcome you back like an old frenemy. The fur you pull over yourself smells like smoke, sweat, and something faintly herbal, thyme or pine maybe. A small comfort, in the way a familiar bad dream is more tolerable than a new one. You stare into the dark and realize that there's no buffer here, no cushion between you and the world. Life is direct, sharp-edged. If something breaks, you fix it. If food runs out, you hunt. If you get sick, you either recover or you don't. The longhouse offers shelter but not softness, community but not space, heat but only in a narrow radius from the flames. It's enough, but just barely. You think about how far removed you are from this world, not in distance but in design. Your life is built around choice. This one is built around necessity. There's no room for indulgence here. No time for existential questions or mood boards or gym memberships. You work, you eat, you try not to die in the night. If you're lucky, you laugh a little along the way. And yet, lying there in the dark, something tugs at you. A strange sense of admiration. These people, the ones snoring beside you, the ones whose stories still hang in the air like wood smoke, they're not mythical. They're not barbaric. They're human, just like you, only stronger in the ways that actually matter. You wouldn't last a day in their world, but maybe, just maybe, you'd want to. Not because it's comfortable, not because it's noble, but because despite everything, the smoke, the cold, the endless work, this life is real in a way that yours has never quite managed to be. You pull the fur tighter, close your eyes, and listen to the fire, to the breath of those around you, to the longhouse, alive and ancient. And for the first time since you arrived, you stop trying to escape it. You just let it be. You don't sleep well. It's not just the bench or the noise or the ever-present cold. It's the feeling of not belonging, of being watched by the past itself. Every creak of the roof, every flick of firelight against the rafters seems to whisper that you're an intruder here, a ghost haunting the wrong timeline. When the longhouse stirs again, it's still dark outside. Maybe it never stopped being dark. The concept of morning is a generous one in this part of the world, especially in the depths of winter. Light doesn't burst in triumphantly. It drips in slowly, thin and cold as river water. No one wakes you. They assume you're already up or that you should have been. People begin rising, layering their wool, tightening leather belts, preparing for another day of effort without end. You rise too, joints aching, spine bent. No one praises you for joining in. Why would they? Someone hands you a broom of bundled twigs. It's unclear whether this is a test or a punishment, but it doesn't matter. You begin sweeping ash and dirt, doing what you can. It feels important. Not because it helps, your work is inefficient at best, but because doing nothing would be worse. In a place like this, even useless labor is better than idleness. Idleness here is an accusation, a vulnerability, a luxury they can't afford. The longhouse smells different in the early hours, less like heat and sweat, more like damp wool and dying embers. You move past a woman stirring something in a pot. Porridge maybe, not enough of it. You can hear a child coughing again, a short, shallow bark repeating. No one reacts. What could they do? They've done what they can, bundled him in furs, added herbs to his stew. Now they wait. That's another thing about this world. It demands patience. Not the performative kind, but the gritty, stubborn, passive endurance of things that can't be hurried. Crops grow when they want. Injuries heal at their own pace. Weather listens to no one. Death arrives when it chooses. You think of the little things you used to complain about: waiting in traffic, slow Wi-Fi, bad coffee. They seem like parodies now. Here, people wait for their neighbors to survive fevers, for boats to return, for winters to end. And they don't complain, they conserve, they adapt. They fold themselves into the rhythm of the land because they have no other option. You're pulled from your thoughts by the sound of a horn outside, not music, an alert. A low, resonant blast that vibrates in your ribs. The longhouse freezes as if the walls themselves are listening. Then motion, deliberate, fast, but not panicked. Someone grabs a spear. Another calls out a name you can't pronounce. People move. You're left blinking, broom still in hand, until someone tosses you a bundle of rough leather. A cloak. Out, says the man, that's all, just out. So you follow. Outside, the cold slams into you with the force of a thrown axe. Your eyes water instantly. The breath in your throat freezes before you can exhale it. The wind has picked up, carrying a scent of smoke and salt and distant danger. At first, you see nothing. Then, on the horizon, silhouettes boats. Not fishing boats, sleek and narrow, cutting the water like knives. A few villagers gather near the shoreline, watching. Others position themselves with weapons, not charging, not panicking, just waiting, calculating. You stand there useless, eyes wide, wondering if this is it, if the horn was warning of raiders, or if this is just how tense greetings start. Someone beside you mutters, "Merchants." Another says, "No Danes." A third just squints and says nothing. It strikes you how normal this is for them. The line between friend and foe out here is thin, flexible. One season, you trade fish and amber. The next, you burn each other's homes. And in winter, with supplies running low, loyalty is even thinner. The boats draw closer, and the longhouse behind you feels both distant and vital. Home, shelter, last defense. You understand then how fragile this world is. Not just the structures, but the people within them. One wrong wind, one failed crop, one sharp blade, and everything changes. Eventually, someone gives the signal. It's fine. Not raiders today. Just visitors looking tired, armed, and hungry. Which means the real work is about to begin. Negotiation, hospitality, cautious cooperation. You're dismissed silently. Your presence is neither required nor helpful. So you walk back head low, trying not to slip on the icy path. And even though nothing happened, no fight, no fire, you're exhausted. Because in a world like this, threat is constant. It doesn't need to happen. Just the possibility is enough to drain you. You step back into the longhouse, and the warmth, thin as it is, greets you like a forgiving ghost. People are already adjusting, setting more bowls, lighting more lamps, preparing for the interaction as if it's another storm to weather. And in a way, it is. You sit down again, your body brittle, your mind raw. And you realize, even standing still, you're falling behind. The visitors don't stay long, but long enough to change the atmosphere inside the longhouse. When strangers enter a space like this, everything tenses. Not with fear, but with alertness. Hospitality is a law, yes, but it's also a risk. You welcome someone in, you feed them, give them a place near the fire, and in doing so, you expose the soft underbelly of your home. And when supplies are low, even generosity has limits. You watch them eat, not ravenously, deliberately. Every motion calculated, every glance a reading of the room. They might be allies, they might be scouts, they might be distant cousins, half remembered through generations of tangled family lines and shared gods. It doesn't matter. What matters is what they are now, armed, hungry, and very much aware of who has more than they do. They bring word of something happening upriver, a feud, or a trade gone bad, or both. The stories are tangled, nothing is certain, but something is shifting. You feel it ripple through the longhouse like a change in weather. People begin sharpening tools with more attention, checking their bowstrings, repacking supplies. You've spent most of your time here trying to understand, to observe, to adapt, to avoid doing anything obviously foolish. But now something shifts in you too. Not clarity, but a kind of surrender. You stop watching from the edge of things. You step closer to the fire, grab a knife, and start carving kindling the way someone showed you badly 2 days ago. No one praises you, but they stop looking at you like your furniture. The rest of the day folds in around this new mood. Preparation, not for anything specific, just in case. You're sent to help mend a sail. You have no idea how, but you're shown with simple gestures. Loop this here, pull that there, don't let the edge fray. The sailcloth is coarse and heavy, streaked with old stains, salt, blood, smoke. You run your fingers along the seams and realize it's been patched dozens of times, each layer a scar from a different journey. It doesn't look seaworthy. It looks stubborn, like everyone else here. Later, someone hands you a bow. Not as a gift, as a test. You take it carefully, examining the wood, ash or yew maybe. The string is taut. Your fingers fumble the arrow. You've never done this before, but you've watched. You remember how they stand, how they breathe. You draw. The string sings, the arrow misses, badly. There's a short silence, then a grunt. Someone corrects your posture with a nudge to the elbow. You try again. The second shot lands, not on target, but near enough that it sticks. That night, your fingers are raw, your shoulders sore, and your legs feel like you've borrowed them from someone stronger and more resentful. But for the first time since you arrived, no one tells you to move out of the way. At dinner, you're passed a bowl without being looked at twice. You're spoken near, if not to. It's a kind of acceptance, conditional perhaps, but real. Earned not through eloquence or charm or intellect, but through effort, through doing, through showing that you're not just here to survive the story, but to be part of it. You eat quietly. The stew is thicker tonight, and the bread doesn't crumble apart. There's even a chunk of something that tastes like preserved apple. It feels like a feast. The man across from you says something. You don't catch all of it, just the end. Until spring, at least. You look at him, he's older, not ancient, but with that slow, weathered face that comes from years spent squinting against wind and pain. He doesn't smile, but he doesn't scowl either. He just eats, then nods at the fire like it said something worth agreeing with. Until spring, at least, that phrase clings to you, because suddenly this doesn't feel temporary. You'd always assumed your stay was short, a night, a day, maybe a week at most. But now you hear talk of winter holding fast, of stores running low, of raids and broken alliances. There's no leaving, there's just lasting. And lasting here means changing. Not outwardly, you still look like a stranger, but your body is shifting, hardening, your mind too. The cold doesn't hit as sharply. The dirt doesn't bother you as much. Your hands, once soft, now carry little cuts you don't even remember getting. When the fire dims and people begin drifting to their sleeping spots, you find your place on the bench without being directed. You pull the same fur over your shoulders, stiff and cracked but warm enough. You curl into yourself and close your eyes. And for the first time, the darkness feels less like an enemy and more like something ancient and vast, something you don't need to defeat, just learn to sleep beside. The next morning, the Longhouse breathes differently. The rhythm has changed again. No one says it outright, but something's wrong. You feel it in the silence, deeper, sharper. A kind of stillness that doesn't come from rest but from watching, waiting. The usual coughing and chatter is muted. Even the fire crackles more carefully. You catch glances exchanged across the room, short, fast, full of meaning you're not included in. Someone died during the night. You don't know who. You don't ask. You wouldn't understand the name, and even if you did, you'd only reveal how little it meant to you. Whoever it was, others here knew them, ate with them, worked beside them, maybe argued with them just yesterday. Now nothing. You notice a space by the fire, one that used to be occupied. No one sits there this morning. A fur remains folded in place. A wooden bowl sits untouched, like it's still waiting to be used. Someone quietly picks it up and sets it aside. That's the burial for now. Later, there'll be a pyre or a burial mound, maybe offerings. But not yet. First, the day must be endured. It's snowing lightly. Not enough to blanket the earth, just enough to make everything slower, heavier. Each flake is a reminder that spring is not close, not even on the horizon. You're sent with others into the woods to gather firewood. You don't ask why. You just follow. The trees rise up like frozen ribs, bare and black against a gray sky. The snow muffles sound, making every footstep feel private, every breath too loud. The others work quickly, splitting logs with practiced movements, gathering fallen limbs, checking traps along the way. You try to keep up, arms aching, hands raw. The axe you carry feels heavier with every swing, the cold sapping your strength faster than you expected. At one point you pause to rest. No one else does. They don't speak, but you can feel the judgment. Not cruelty, just realism. You are still the weakest link. You know it. So you push yourself upright, lift the axe again, and keep working. Eventually, one of the men, he might be 30, he might be 60, speaks to you. Not in mockery, not even in instruction. Just a sentence, short and low. You don't understand all the words, but the tone is unmistakable. Get moving. We don't have time for you to learn slowly. By the time you return to the Longhouse, the snow is thicker. Your clothes are soaked. Your muscles are past pain, now they just buzz with fatigue. But the heat inside is better. Not warmer, but more alive. Food is cooking. Someone is singing low, an old song, rhythmic and without melody, more like a chant than a tune. Others join in as they work, sharpening tools, carving handles, weaving thick wool into thicker cloaks. No one speaks of the death, but you see it in their motions, quieter, more deliberate. Even grief here is a form of labor. You're handed a rag and a task, cleaning fish. The smell hits you like a wall, salt, guts, cold blood. You gag. No one notices. Or if they do, they pretend not to. You press your fingers into the work, scraping scales, slicing bellies, discarding the parts you're told to. Your hands are stained and freezing. You keep going. And slowly something happens. You begin to forget yourself. Not in a dramatic, cinematic way, not like becoming someone else. Just slipping. Slipping out of your own head, your own timeline. Your memories of warmth and convenience and comfort start to feel distant, irrelevant. You stop comparing everything to what you had. You stop wishing things were easier. You just do what needs to be done. That night, the fur feels less like an insult and more like protection. The dark doesn't bother you. You don't wait for sleep to come, you let it overtake you. And in your dreams, you don't return to the modern world. You don't imagine phones or showers or blankets fresh from the dryer. You dream of firelight and frost. You dream of wolves howling on distant hills and the sound of wind moving through a broken fence. You dream of the Longhouse, warm, hard, loud, and alive. And when you wake, you're already reaching for your boots. By now, the Longhouse doesn't feel foreign. It doesn't feel safe either, but you no longer flinch at every sound or gag at every smell. You move when others move. You know where things go. You even know which bench to avoid, the one with a slight dip that collects cold like a puddle. It's not home, but it's no longer not. The routine has dulled the edges of discomfort. Wake, work, eat if there's food, mourn if there's cause, sleep if there's time. You've stopped asking questions because there are no answers, only decisions made out of necessity. And today the decision is this: someone must leave. You don't understand the conversation completely. It's fast, tense, full of clipped words and gestures, but you understand the mood. Supplies are thinning. The traplines came back nearly empty. Someone's cousin was supposed to return with grain but hasn't. The meat is drying too slowly or spoiling. It's hard to tell. So they're going to send a small group upriver, see if there's trade to be made or aid to be begged. 3 men. 1 boat. A short trip, they say. 2 days, maybe 3. And they're taking you, not because you're trusted, not because you're strong, but because you're new, expendable even. If the ice breaks, if raiders come, if something goes wrong, you're not someone they'll have to bury with ceremony. So you go. You help load the small vessel, a shallow carved boat of pine patched with tar and rope. Supplies are wrapped in fur and oiled cloth, dried fish, a few tools, small bundles of amber and wool for trade. 1 man carries a knife, another a bow, you nothing. Just your body and whatever instinct you've scraped together over these miserable, shape-shifting days. The river greets you with silence. The water is still, rimmed with thin sheets of ice. The sky is pale again, gray on gray on gray. As the boat pushes out, you feel your feet grow instantly colder, soaked by splash and melt. The other 2 men say nothing, just row. You've never been so surrounded by silence. Even the woods on either side seem hushed, the trees frozen mid-whisper. Your breath is loud, your thoughts louder. The boat moves steadily, slowly, like a blade across old skin. Hours pass like water dripping from a leak. Time is unmeasured here, stretched and emptied. You don't speak. You don't rest. You just watch the banks, alert for movement, for danger, for anything that might rise from the white woods, and ask questions you can't answer. The silence is broken once, briefly, when one of the men gestures to the shoreline, a figure far away. Human? Hard to say. It's gone too quickly to be sure. The man says something under his breath. The boat doesn't stop. By nightfall, you beach the vessel against a snowy bank. There's no shelter, just woods and wind. The men set a small fire using dried moss and splinters of birch bark. No talking, no storytelling, no songs. You chew on cold, tough fish and try not to let your fingers go numb. You sleep against a tree trunk. The cold makes your bones feel hollow. Every shift of your body feels like it might break something. The wind cuts through your cloak like you're naked, but you sleep anyway because exhaustion is a kind of mercy. The next morning, there's frost in your eyelashes and a new crack in your lip. Your body feels like meat, bruised, heavy, but the boat still floats. The river still leads on, so you keep rowing. Around midday, smoke, thin at first then thicker, not from firewood, this is black smoke. Oily, close. The men exchange a glance and move faster. You follow, heart kicking. As the bend turns, the source reveals itself. A homestead, or what's left of one. The buildings are burned, collapsed inward. No movement. No sounds but the hiss of char and wind. The trees near it are blackened at their roots. Crows scatter as you approach, fat and slow. They've been feeding. You're not told what to do. You just climb out and walk with the others. The snow is pink in places. Not red, pink. Blood diluted by melt. There's nothing left to save. No one left to talk to. One of the men kneels by the ruin of a storage shed. He lifts a charred plank. Beneath it, a body, small, burned, curled in the posture of someone trying not to be seen. No one speaks. The wind carries the silence away. You don't bury the dead. There's no time. The ground is frozen. The fire already had its say, so you turn the boat and row home. The river carries you back slower than it should. Maybe the wind shifted. Maybe the weight of what you saw has made the boat feel heavier. Or maybe time just stretches longer when you return carrying silence. No one speaks of the burned homestead. Not on the water. Not when you stop to rest. Not when the fire is too weak to warm your hands and the food too dry to soften in your mouth. The images remain unspoken but vivid, burned beams still smoldering, the sickly sweet smell of scorched flesh. The silence of a world ended in one brief violence. You don't ask who did it, you already know it doesn't matter. Back at the Longhouse, life continues. The door creaks open just as it did when you first arrived, but now it sounds different, familiar, and heavier. The warmth inside doesn't greet you. It simply exists, thin and waiting. People glance up as you step through, not with surprise, not with relief. Just a nod or a half second of eye contact like punctuation. They know. Not the details. Not the names of the dead or the way the snow turned pink. But they know enough. This world doesn't deal in news. It deals in weather. And raids are just another kind of storm. You lower your cloak. Your hands are stiff. You don't feel cold anymore, just used up. Someone sets a bowl in front of you. You eat without tasting. The fire pops beside you. Voices murmur, tools clink. Life presses forward like it always does, slow, smoky, without apology. You sit still for a long time, watching, breathing, letting the day melt off you in layers. Later, as the Longhouse settles into sleep, you lie down not where you first did, but closer to the center, near the fire. No one tells you to move. You pull the fur over your shoulders and stare at the dark above, where the beams of the roof form a broken spine against the sky. Smoke coils through the space, same as always. You breathe it in. It no longer makes you cough. You think of the child in the ruins. You think of the man who spoke only once, who handed you the axe without ceremony and expected you to know what came next. You think of how many more days lie ahead, and you don't wish to leave. You don't crave escape. You don't imagine hot showers or bright lights or the endless hum of modern life. That's all fog now, thin, unreachable. What you want is smaller, stranger. You want to wake tomorrow and lift something heavy. You want to walk into the woods and return with firewood. You want to work until your hands ache, eat without speaking, and fall asleep knowing that your place near the fire is earned. Not given, because you've survived something, not war, not disaster, just the unrelenting weight of reality. And in this place, this harsh, smoky, ice-rimmed place, that's enough to make you one of them. You stop counting the days. There's no need anymore. Each one bleeds into the next, and the rhythm of life here, harsh, constant, indifferent, no longer feels foreign. You wake to cold and work until dark. You eat whatever is handed to you. You share breath and space and silence with people whose names you can't pronounce, but whose routines you now understand better than your own thoughts. There's a kind of forgetting that happens, not of memory but of preference. You no longer crave variety. You don't look for choices. There's no point. You've begun to measure time by firelight and footsteps, by the weight of tools in your hands, by how loud the wind howls through the cracks in the walls. And then something new, someone arrives. A boy no older than 10, bundled in a cloak too large for him, face red with windburn and panic. He's not from here, but he's known. He's from another settlement 2 valleys over. He brings news. A sickness is moving through the lowlands. Not just a fever, something worse, faster, heaving coughs that break ribs, eyes yellowing, skin blotched. People are dying. Entire homes are being sealed and left behind. The boy says he ran, that no one stopped him. He says his mother is still inside. The longhouse falls quiet, not in shock, in calculation. They've seen this before. Illness moves fast in places like this. No hospitals, no medicine. Only superstition and hot broth and the occasional herb. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it spreads, and sometimes it doesn't stop. They don't panic, that's not how fear works here, but the air changes. The fire burns hotter that night. Doors are barred tighter. Tasks shift. Someone's told to check the stores, see how long they could last if they needed to seal the doors and wait out a storm that doesn't wear boots or carry blades. You're told not to leave. You weren't planning to. You watch the boy, he's curled in a corner, too exhausted to cry, too cold to sleep. Someone places a fur over him. It's thin, but it's something. No one scolds him. No one hugs him. That's not how comfort works here. You survive next to each other. That's the only real warmth. The next day, the coughing begins. Not him, someone else. An old woman who sleeps near the rear wall. Her voice has always sounded like broken gravel, but now there's something wetter underneath. And people notice. Not openly, not cruelly, but space forms around her. Conversations reroute. Tasks shift. You see her notice, and something in her shoulders collapses. She knows. There's no treatment, just prayers, some herbs, hot water if it's available. And time. You find yourself avoiding her too, not because you're heartless, because your body is smarter than your ethics. Instinct still rules here, and instinct says, survive. A day passes, then 2, she doesn't worsen, she doesn't improve. The boy says nothing. He doesn't speak at all now, just sits near the wall and stares at the fire like it owes him something. And then, one night, you wake to silence. Not the normal silence. A different kind, dense, tight. You sit up slowly. Someone's gone, not the old woman. The man who slept closest to her. He's being dragged outside. Wrapped in cloth, his face covered. 2 men carry him. No ceremony, no ritual, just motion. You don't ask. You already know. The next morning, the longhouse is colder. People eat in silence. The fire burns but doesn't feel warm. The boy is gone too. You don't know where. No one says anything. You help gather wood that day. Your arms shake harder than usual. Your breath feels short, shallow. You tell yourself it's the cold, just the cold. You don't speak it aloud, but the thought lives in your chest. What if it's starting? What if it's in you? The longhouse doesn't talk about death. It works around it. No one says the word. No one explains. But the benches shift. The fire burns longer. People glance toward the rear wall and then quickly away, as if their eyes might catch something their lungs haven't yet. The man they dragged out was strong. He'd repaired the tools, hunted when others couldn't. He'd survived 2 winters longer than anyone expected him to. Now he's ash and dirt. You keep waiting for someone to panic. For the kind of terror you know from your own world. Sirens, sealed doors, frantic plans made with too little information. But that's not how it works here. Fear is quieter. It's older. It moves through the longhouse like smoke. Invisible but thick enough to choke on if you breathe too deep. And you're breathing carefully now. Every tickle in your throat is a question. Every ache in your limbs a whisper. You don't have a thermometer. You don't have tests. You have instincts, and those are turning against you. Still, the work continues. It has to. There's no sick leave in the Viking world. If the wood isn't chopped, the fire dies. If the traps aren't checked, no one eats. Survival doesn't stop because someone might be dying. It just grinds louder. So you keep going. Your body is weaker. You feel it. Your grip on the axe handle slips more often. You stop to rest more. You breathe harder after every task. You don't tell anyone. What would you even say? They wouldn't pity you. Pity doesn't exist here. Just the question, are you useful or not? A day passes, then another. The boy reappears. No one asked where he went, but you know. There's a small shrine near the edge of the woods where the old gods are still whispered to in the dark. You saw it once, half-collapsed, bones and feathers tied to a post wrapped in old sinew. It's where people go when there's nothing left to fix. You wonder what he left there. A token, a name, a piece of himself. He's not crying. Children don't cry here, not where anyone can hear. He eats without looking up. His hands shake. The old woman, she's still alive, but fading. Each day her cough grows wetter, she sleeps longer. The space around her has grown into a circle of unease. No one tells her to move. No one sits near her. The message is silent but clear. She's already half a ghost. At night she sings, soft. Crooked notes from a throat full of smoke and old stories. You don't understand the words, but they cling to the air like frost. One night, you hear someone humming with her, matching the melody. It's the boy. The next morning, she doesn't wake up. No one checks. No one weeps. A blanket is pulled over her head and she's left there until the meal is finished. Then, without ceremony, her body is wrapped and carried into the cold. They don't dig. They place her in the crook of a tree, where the roots bend and the snow has already melted from old use. A place for the forgotten. A place the wolves don't come near. Someone scatters dried herbs over her, and the boy watches, expression hollow. You don't say anything. There's nothing to say. Back inside, the longhouse is quieter, not from grief, from awareness. Everyone saw what happened to the man, to the woman. Everyone heard the coughing start. Everyone knows it's not finished. You sleep closer to the door now. You move there on your own. No one asked you to, but you noticed that others had begun stepping around you, speaking behind you, watching when you rubbed at your chest too long or slowed down while hauling water. The change was silent but firm. You're being marked, not cast out, just distanced, like they're already preparing for your absence. That night the fire burns low. You wake shivering, your hands numb, your mouth dry and sour. You sit up slowly, listening. Something is outside, not footsteps, not wolves, something slower, closer. You stand, limbs heavy. Open the door just a crack. The boy is outside, barefoot in the snow, standing with his arms outstretched. He's looking at the sky, clouded, black, starless, and muttering something. Over and over, not prayer, not quite. Something older, something quieter than language. You don't speak. You don't go to him, you just watch. He doesn't move for a long time. Then eventually he sits down. Right there in the snow, still looking up. You close the door and return to your bench. In the dark, you wonder if it would be better to die out there, under sky, with silence and space, or in here, crowded among strangers who have already accepted that not all of you will survive the winter. You don't sleep. Instead, you listen to the crackle of the fire, the wheeze of someone breathing too slowly, and the soft, distant voice of a boy who has already learned how to grieve like a man. And in that moment, you realize, you may not be dying, but something in you already has. You start waking before the others, not from eagerness, not from obligation, just because sleep has become a thin layer that slides off too easily. Your dreams no longer belong to you. They're a churn of old voices, frozen breath, and things you've seen but never truly understood. Things that don't fade with the dawn, so you get up. The coals in the hearth are still warm. You prod them with a charred stick, add a log from the dwindling pile. The longhouse groans around you, its beams popping with the cold, its roof whispering under the weight of snow and time. You've stopped flinching at the sounds. They're as familiar now as your heartbeat. When others rise, they notice you less and less, or maybe you're simply blending in. You move like they do. You eat when they eat. You don't speak unless you're spoken to, and even then, only in gestures or grunts. You don't waste words on comfort or curiosity. There's no time for that. Outside, the land has frozen solid. The woods, once full of muted life, are skeletal and quiet. Even the crows have gone still. The sky hangs low and colorless, pressing down like a lid. There's no sunrise, just a soft gray that lightens slightly then fades again. A hunt is planned. Nothing ambitious, just snares and spears and whatever can be flushed out of the hollows. Food is thin. Salted meat is nearly gone, the porridge is stretching further each day by becoming less of itself. Hunger has stopped feeling sharp. It's become a dull companion, a silence that lives in your belly. They take you along, not for your skill. You don't have any, but because an extra pair of legs is better than none. If nothing else, you can help carry whatever dies. The snow is deep. Your boots are wrapped in leather and twine, stiff with old use. Every step is an effort. Every breath stings. But no one complains. Complaints are a kind of waste, and waste is a luxury. You follow them into the forest, eyes scanning for movement, though you wouldn't know what to do if you saw it first. The lead man carries a short spear. His beard is rimed with frost. He's not old, but he moves like he has been old before and came back from it. Hours pass in silence. Then, a rustle, quick motion. A hare bolts from cover. The spear misses. A second man flings a stone and clips it. The animal stumbles, scrambles, vanishes into deeper white. No one swears. No one groans. Just a shared breath of loss, and then the motion begins again, as if it never happened. You set a few snares before turning back. Bare hope, strung between two branches. You wonder if the traps are even worth checking anymore. But you set them anyway. Because doing something, however small, keeps the cold at bay. As you trudge back, the man beside you says a single word. Tomorrow. It's not a question, it's not encouragement, just a reminder we'll try again. That's all there is here. Tomorrow, again. You return to the Longhouse with nothing. The others already knew you'd come back empty-handed. A pot of something bland is heating over the fire. You take your place, legs shaking, feet numb. Later, someone plays a bone flute. Just a few soft notes, uncertain and off-key. But no one stops it. The melody drifts like smoke, fragile, flawed, and very alive. You find yourself watching the boy again. He still doesn't speak, but he moves now, sweeping ash, carrying water, fetching furs for those too old to stand. He's shrinking into the fabric of the Longhouse the way you have, the way everyone must, not by choice but by erosion. That night, you lie beside the fire and someone speaks your name. You didn't know they knew it. You turn your head, it's the bearded man, the one with the spear. He doesn't look at you, he just says it again, your name, like it's a log tossed on the fire, like it's part of the Longhouse now. You don't answer. You don't need to, because the fact that it was spoken at all means something's changed. You've become real, not just a shape, not just a mouth that eats and hands that drop tools. A person, someone who will be missed if only for what you carry, what you lift, what you leave behind when you die. And in this place, that's as close to love as you're going to get. You don't remember what month it is, or if that even matters anymore. Time here isn't measured in numbers, it's measured in survival, in how deep the snow is, in how long the nights stretch, in how many bowls are passed down the fire and how many never return. The wind outside has changed. It moans now, not the way it did when you first arrived, restless and sharp, but long and hollow, like something calling from across a frozen sea. People glance at the door more often, as if expecting it to open without warning, as if something else might come in. Inside, things are quieter, slower. The Longhouse feels smaller these days. The number of sleeping bodies is shrinking little by little. You're never told when someone dies. You just wake up one morning and their space is empty. The smell of them fades, their bowl gets used by someone else, their fur is quietly folded and moved. That's all. No one mourns, not out loud, not where anyone can hear. Grief is something to be carried in private, like a wound you can't afford to bleed. The boy is sick again. Not badly, not yet, just a cough, a wheeze that doesn't go away. But the others are watching him now, the same way they once watched you. Quietly, carefully preparing, you try not to, but it's hard. He's become something more than a shadow to you. Not family, not quite, but something close, something like memory. One night you find him curled near the wall, struggling to sleep. He's shivering, even with two furs over him. You get up, peel off your own, and place it over him. He doesn't wake, but his breathing eases. No one sees, or if they do, no one says anything. That too is a kind of acceptance. The next day, you're assigned to the shore. There's a broken net to repair, and some frozen fish that need to be hacked from a block of ice where someone buried them for safekeeping weeks ago. The wind comes in off the water like knives. You hunch against it, chipping at the ice with a dull blade until your fingers stop working. Another man is with you, broad, scarred, missing 2 fingers on one hand. He doesn't talk much, but after a while he grunts, then gestures toward the horizon. You look. Out on the water, something moves. At first you think it's a boat, but it's not. It's a shape, long, low, unmoving. A whale carcass, stranded, frozen in place. You both stare at it for a long time. Then he turns back to the net. You return to the fish. Nothing else is said. But that image stays with you. Something massive and dead, stuck in the ice, too far to help, too dangerous to touch, too tempting to ignore. That night you dream about it. Not the whale, the ice. You dream you're walking across a frozen lake. Below you, shapes twist in the dark. Hands, faces, not reaching to pull you under, but to warn you not to come closer. And you keep walking anyway because there's nowhere else to go. You wake sweating. The fire's out. The longhouse is breathing slowly, deeply, like an animal half asleep. You rise to relight it. You're not the only one. 2 others are already there, feeding it slivers of birch bark, coaxing the flame like a child. You join them. No words, just the shared urgency of cold. The boy stirs. His cough is worse. Someone else shifts, and suddenly it's morning. No one slept. You can feel it in the room. Everyone is pretending, but no one really slept. There's a conversation, short and clipped, between the elders. They glance at the boy, at the stores, at the door. Then one of them turns to you and says a single word, "Go." You don't ask what it means. You already know. You knew this was coming. The word was short, just go, but it landed like iron in your chest. Not an order barked, not a plea whispered, a judgment, a decision already made before it was spoken aloud. The longhouse has nothing left to give you, and the boy, they've decided he has a chance. A small one, a fragile thread of possibility, but more than you. You're older, you're expendable. You're not theirs, he is. And so, by the old arithmetic of survival, you're the one who must leave. They give you no speech, no blessing, just movement. A woman ties a bundle of food, not much, just what could be spared without argument. Dried fish, a small flat loaf, a skin of water. She doesn't look at you as she does it. She just knots the string tightly and hands it over like she's handing off a stone. Someone else gives you a cloak, coarser than the one you've been wearing. You realize they've reclaimed the good one already. It's not cruelty, it's just habit. Materials are needed for the living. The man with the spear walks you to the edge of the clearing. It's snowing again. Light but steady. The kind of snow that piles up without being noticed. The kind that buries things gently like sleep. He points east, a river you've never seen. He says the name of a place. You don't understand it, but he says it twice. Then he hands you a small object wrapped in cloth. You open it later. It's a carved token, bone or ivory, a figure, maybe a god, maybe just a man standing straight in the wind. It's been worn smooth by fingers. No one says goodbye. That's not how this world works. There is no goodbye here, just absence. You leave before the snow thickens. The forest is silent. Your steps are muffled. Each breath escapes your body like smoke, like something trying to leave before you do. The cold gnaws at your joints. Your legs feel heavier than they should. You haven't walked this far in weeks. Not without a task. Not without someone beside you. Now your only companion is the possibility of failure. Every now and then you glance back. But the longhouse vanishes quickly behind the trees, swallowed by snow, distance, and memory. It feels like being erased in slow motion. The first night you sleep under a tree, curled in your cloak. You dream of warmth, but not the kind you knew before. Not electric blankets or heaters or a sunlit room. You dream of the fire from the longhouse, of the thick air, the smoke, the heavy breath of bodies sleeping close. You miss it. The next day your left foot goes numb. You adjust the wrappings, keep walking. The forest begins to change, the trees thin, the air tastes different, sharper. You find a frozen stream and follow it, hoping it leads somewhere humans might have settled, hoping it doesn't lead you straight to nothing. On the third day, you run out of food. The hunger doesn't surprise you. It's been riding your ribs for days, but now it sharpens, turns from a dull weight into a knife. You chew on snow just to have something in your mouth, and still you walk. Because that's the deal, isn't it? They let you in. They let you eat. They let you breathe their smoke, sleep by their fire, learn their silence. And now they've asked something in return. Take the sickness with you. Take the risk. Take the burden. And leave behind the boy. It's not noble, but it's fair. On the fourth morning, you hear a sound. Voices, not close, but not far. Echoing through the snow, muffled by trees. You crouch low, heart slamming. It could be anything. Bandits. Traders, another longhouse. Or worse, nothing but memory carried on wind. You creep forward. There between two trees, smoke, real, black, thick, rising from a chimney, a roof, a wall, a building, and movement, people. You don't smile. You don't shout. You just step forward carefully, slowly, knowing full well that whatever waits on the other side might save you, or kill you. Either way, the longhouse behind you has let you go, and you're not walking for yourself anymore. You're walking for the boy, for the chance that someone lives through this, even if it's not you. You don't knock. There's no door to knock on anyway, just a hanging hide, stiff with cold, stretched across a narrow entryway. The roof is sloped, patched with moss and thin turf, and the walls are older than the trees around them. Smoke curls from the vent like a warning. You step forward, slowly, hands out, empty. A figure appears, blocking the entrance. Tall, wrapped in dark wool, hood down, face unreadable. A man, but not old, not young. His eyes flick over you, and in them you see the same thing you've seen in every winter gaze: calculation. Not kindness, not cruelty. Just a ledger tallying risk and use. He doesn't speak, so you don't either. Instead, you pull the token from your cloak, the one the man with the spear gave you. You hold it up. The figure looks at it, then at you. Then he steps aside, that's all. No questions, no welcome. Just the simplest kind of permission. You are not being turned away. Inside, it's darker than the longhouse you left. Smaller, warmer in a way that doesn't feel safer. The fire here is low and oily, burning something that smells like fat and bitter herbs. There's no laughter, no conversation, just the weight of a place that expects nothing and offers less. 3 others glance up as you enter. A woman, hair tied in loops against her neck. A boy, younger than the one you left. A man, face pale and thin, hunched near the fire like he's been carved out of what's left. They look at you with the stillness of people who have seen too much winter and lost more than they'll say. You lower your eyes. You don't sit. You wait. Eventually, the woman brings a bowl, lukewarm broth, thick with root scraps and something unidentifiable. She doesn't hand it to you. She sets it on the ground a few feet away. You kneel, pick it up, drink it all. It's sour, it's perfect. The man who let you in finally speaks. His voice is hoarse but not weak. Where from? You answer simply. The name of the valley. One word. He nods, just once. Then how many left? You don't know how to answer, not truthfully, so you lie, but only a little. Few. Another pause. He looks to the others, then back to you. We don't share fire for long. You nod. You weren't expecting to. This isn't rescue, it's shelter, temporary, conditional, and that's more than most people get. They give you a corner, a fur, a place to sleep if you can earn it. And you do. You help clean, you fetch water, you carry wood. The boy follows you for an hour, then disappears. The woman watches without watching. The pale man never moves from the fire except to cough into a cloth he doesn't show to anyone. You don't ask his name, you don't need to. At night you dream of the longhouse, not the smoke or the furs or the aching cold, but the silence. That old, dense silence packed between every breath like a second skin. You miss it. Or maybe you just miss being known by it, being within something. Here you're still a stranger, a mouth to feed, a shape by the fire. You have to earn your place all over again. But you know how now. You don't ask questions. You don't speak unless spoken to. You listen to what's not said. You share your breath, your hands, your strength, and nothing else. That is how you survive a place like this. Not by fighting it, by becoming quiet enough to go unnoticed, useful enough to be kept, and still enough to feel the storm pass around you, not through. And all the while, in the back of your mind, you hold a single thought like a coal under snow. He's still alive. The boy, back in the longhouse, wrapped in your fur, sleeping near your old place by the fire, breathing the air you left behind. And that's enough. That's the part of you that didn't freeze. You don't leave. Not yet. Days pass. Maybe a week. You stop trying to count. Time here is the same as it was before, measured not by calendars or celebrations, but by what breaks and what doesn't. By what's eaten, what's buried, and what stubbornly persists. You become part of the wall, not in the poetic sense. You are background, motion. A set of arms, a body to point at when something heavy needs lifting. You take up space quietly, use the tools correctly, don't talk more than you should. You don't smile. No one here does. And still, things shift. One morning, the woman with the looped hair hands you a fresh bowl instead of leaving it on the floor. She doesn't look at you, but her fingers brush yours for half a second. That's something. Later, the younger boy, he must be 5, maybe 6, asks you a question, just one. He points to your boots, then to his. He says a word you don't know, but you know what he means. Why are yours better? You kneel down, adjust his wrappings, tie the knot tighter. He watches you do it, says nothing. The next day, he's wearing his boots properly. That's how you know you've been accepted, not with words, but imitation. A quiet echo of your usefulness. The longhouse here is smaller, but its rhythm is the same. Fire, food, cold, sleep. You rise when the others rise. You fetch water. You check traps. You repair what you can, sharpen what needs sharpening. No one praises you, but no one corrects you anymore either. And in this world, that's all the proof you need. The pale man by the fire fades more each day. His cough has changed, softer now, like his body can't spare the strength for full pain. The cloth he uses is dark with blood. No one speaks of it. One night he simply stops breathing. No ritual. The woman covers his face. The boy doesn't ask questions. No tears, just stillness. You help carry the body outside the next morning. The ground is frozen. No grave today. You set him in a hollow near the tree line beneath a curved rock. He's wrapped in his own cloak, arms crossed. A small wooden carving is tucked under one hand. The woman presses it there. A god, a token. Maybe just a piece of someone else's memory. No one explains. You return to the longhouse. The fire is relit. The silence remains. Later, you offer to hunt. It's not brave. It's not noble. You're just hungry. So are they. You take a net, a bone-handled knife, and a length of cord. The woman nods when you leave, not goodbye. Just go then. You don't find anything the first day, or the second. But the third, you hear rustling near a copse of birch. A rabbit, fat from stored roots. Fast, but not fast enough. You kill it. Clean it there in the snow with trembling hands. The fur is tough. The blood steam warm. It stains the ground in a small, defiant circle of red against all that white. When you return, you don't say anything. You just place the meat beside the fire and start to gut what's left. The boy watches, wide-eyed. The woman starts preparing the pot. That night they give you the best cut. Liver, warm and heavy, seared in animal fat. It's the closest thing to luxury you've tasted since before all of this. You eat it slowly, carefully. The boy mimics you bite for bite, and when you finish, the woman does something strange. She says your name, not perfectly, not in your accent, but close enough. Your name, it startles you, not because you forgot it, but because somehow they hadn't needed it until now. You'd been you, a shape, a function, a tool, but now you're a person again. And that's the most dangerous thing of all. The cold breaks. He doesn't ask where you've been, and you don't ask who's gone. The silence between you is thick with mutual understanding, not of details, but of endurance. You sit beside him, drink what's handed to you, and let your body sag toward the fire like something that's been holding itself up too long. The longhouse is quieter than you remember. Too quiet. There are fewer voices, fewer bodies curled beneath the furs. Some of the old benches are empty, not just unused but stripped. You don't see the man with the spear. You don't see the woman who used to braid hair by firelight. You don't hear the low, rhythmic sound of the elders' stories in the dark. You don't need to ask. The fire tells you everything. It's smaller now. And no one wastes fuel on warmth for ghosts. But the boy is here. And so are you. You sleep that night in your old spot, surprised it's still yours. The fur has changed hands too many times to be soft anymore. But it's familiar. It still smells of ash and breath and effort. The comfort isn't in the thing itself, but in the fact that it remains. The next morning, you're up before dawn again. It's instinct now. No one hands you chores, they just let you do them. You patch a leak in the roof. You carry wood. You help mend a tool someone else once used. The others glance at you, not with curiosity, but with tired welcome. Like a door left open by accident that somehow made things better. And the boy follows you again. Not with questions, not with stories, he just follows. Sometimes handing you tools, sometimes copying what you do. You catch him carving once clumsily with a blade too dull for detail. A block of wood in his hands, something rough and human taking shape in the grain. You don't comment. You don't interrupt. You just let him work because now he needs the silence, the rhythm, the space to figure out who he's becoming. That evening, someone passes you a bowl before anyone else. You eat without looking up, but you feel it. Something has shifted. You're not just back. You're part of it now, truly, finally. And you understand something new. This life never stopped. It didn't pause when you left. It didn't freeze in your absence. It kept moving, limping forward through grief and hunger and the dull repetition of survival. You weren't missed. You weren't expected. But now that you're here, you're needed. That's the difference. After dinner, the boy speaks. One word, quiet. His voice barely carries. He says a name. The name of the man with the spear. You say nothing. He nods like that's answer enough. Later, he asks if you'll teach him how to trap. You say yes. Not because you know what you're doing, but because saying yes is the only thing that keeps anything moving in this world. The next morning, you walk together into the woods. The snow is almost gone. The ground beneath is soft with rot and promise. The traps are old but salvageable. You show him how to set the tension, where to place them, how to watch for signs. He listens with the intensity of someone who has already seen what happens when food runs out. By the third trap, he does it without help. By the fourth, you trust him to check it alone. You sit on a stump, letting your arms rest, your breath slow. In the distance, birds, not many, not loud, but there. Spring isn't here yet, but it's near enough to taste. And for now, that's enough. Not entirely, not suddenly, but something in the air softens. The wind no longer carries teeth. The snow begins to melt, not in sheets, but in veins, running along roots and slipping between stones. It's not warmth, but it's less death. The others feel it too. The boy plays again. Not with toys, there are none, but with his own breath, watching it curl in front of his face, pretending it's smoke or spirit or story. He laughs once. Just once. It's the loudest sound you've heard in weeks. The woman stands outside longer in the mornings now, staring at the tree line, arms folded. Not waiting, measuring. She's thinking of planting, of traps to be reset, of hides that need soaking before the thaw. You start preparing too. Your hands are cracked, your joints stiff, but they move again. There's wood to stack, ropes to mend. The shelter groans less under the weight of ice. You take longer paths now, checking for signs of animals, loose branches, anything that might resemble opportunity. And you begin to think of the valley you left. You see it in your mind. The fire, the benches, the smoke curling like a ceiling, the boy wrapped in your fur. You see his face. Not clearly. It's already softening around the edges like something carved in wet wood. You don't know if he's still alive. And that thought nests inside you like a coal, small, hot, and impossible to ignore. You thought it would fade, that your debt had been paid with distance. But it hasn't. It's only grown heavier as your steps get lighter. The woman notices. One morning she asks simply, "East?" You nod. She says nothing more. But the next day she hands you a bundle, dried meat, a flint, a small copper brooch to trade if needed. She doesn't say what it's for, but she's giving you permission, or closure, or just a chance to leave before the thaw makes everything busy again. You accept it. The boy hugs you. It's sudden, brief, arms around your waist, face buried in your tunic. Then he pulls away like it didn't happen. You say his name, soft, careful. He doesn't reply, but he's watching as you go. The walk is easier now. The snow is slush in places, and beneath it you feel the earth again, soft, waiting. Water trickles. Trees creak in ways that no longer sound like warning. For the first time in months you hear birdsong. 2 notes. High, thin, surprised to still exist. You follow the river. You pass empty traps, a deer skull half frozen into the bank. You sleep under trees that no longer threaten to break under the weight of their own stillness. And as you walk, the silence changes. It's no longer something to endure. It's something you carry. Because now, when you listen to nothing, you hear them. The dead, the living. The hands that fed you, the voices that gave you orders without language. The breath beside you in the dark. The longhouse, all of it, still inside you. You reach the valley on the 4th day. The smoke is thin but real. The longhouse still stands. Your legs forget how to walk when you see it. You stop, breathe, wait. There are fewer tracks in the mud, fewer voices inside. You step forward, you push the door, and there he is, the boy, older somehow, not taller, but changed. His eyes sharpen when he sees you. He doesn't run. He doesn't cry. He just nods, once, deep, like something old souls do. You sit beside him near the fire. The fur you gave him is still wrapped around his shoulders. He passes you a bowl. You take it, and the longhouse breathes again. He doesn't ask where you've been, and you don't ask who's gone. The silence between you is thick with mutual understanding, not of details, but of endurance. You sit beside him, drink what's handed to you, and let your body sag toward the fire like something that's been holding itself up too long. The longhouse is quieter than you remember. Too quiet. There are fewer voices, fewer bodies curled beneath the furs. Some of the old benches are empty, not just unused, but stripped. You don't see the man with the spear. You don't see the woman who used to braid hair by firelight. You don't hear the low, rhythmic sound of the elders' stories in the dark. You don't need to ask. The fire tells you everything. It's smaller now. And no one wastes fuel on warmth for ghosts. But the boy is here. And so are you. You sleep that night in your old spot, surprised it's still yours. The fur has changed hands too many times to be soft anymore. But it's familiar. It still smells of ash and breath and effort. The comfort isn't in the thing itself, but in the fact that it remains. The next morning, you're up before dawn again. It's instinct now. No one hands you chores, they just let you do them. You patch a leak in the roof. You carry wood. You help mend a tool someone else once used. The others glance at you, not with curiosity, but with tired welcome. Like a door left open by accident that somehow made things better. And the boy follows you again. Not with questions. Not with stories. He just follows. Sometimes handing you tools. Sometimes copying what you do. You catch him carving once clumsily with a blade too dull for detail. A block of wood in his hands, something rough and human taking shape in the grain. You don't comment. You don't interrupt. You just let him work because now he needs the silence, the rhythm, the space to figure out who he's becoming. That evening, someone passes you a bowl before anyone else. You eat without looking up, but you feel it. Something has shifted. You're not just back. You're part of it now, truly, finally. And you understand something new. This life never stopped. It didn't pause when you left. It didn't freeze in your absence. It kept moving, limping forward through grief and hunger and the dull repetition of survival. You weren't missed. You weren't expected. But now that you're here, you're needed. That's the difference. After dinner, the boy speaks. One word, quiet. His voice barely carries. He says a name. The name of the man with the spear. You say nothing. He nods like that's answer enough. Later, he asks if you'll teach him how to trap. You say yes. Not because you know what you're doing, but because saying yes is the only thing that keeps anything moving in this world. The next morning, you walk together into the woods. The snow is almost gone. The ground beneath is soft with rot and promise. The traps are old but salvageable. You show him how to set the tension, where to place them, how to watch for signs. He listens with the intensity of someone who has already seen what happens when food runs out. By the third trap, he does it without help. By the fourth, you trust him to check it alone. You sit on a stump, letting your arms rest, your breath slow. In the distance, birds, not many, not loud, but there. Spring isn't here yet, but it's near enough to taste. And for now, that's enough. Spring doesn't arrive all at once. It creeps. First in the way the ice cracks, thin as a breath, along the edge of the stream. Then in how the smoke from the longhouse rises differently, less desperate, less frantic, no longer fighting the cold so much as filling the space it leaves behind. The boy notices first, not with words, but with movement. He's faster now, lighter, still hungry but no longer hollow. His cough is gone, or maybe just buried under stronger things. Muscle, habit, certainty. He sharpens his own blade now. It's still dull, still crooked, but the edge is his. You let him keep it. The traps begin to yield again. Not much. A few hares, one grouse. Once a fox that no one expected. Its fur is mottled, its eyes still bright when you lift it from the snare. The boy watches you kill it. You don't hide it from him. This is the part that matters. You skin it together. Not neatly, but well enough. Its pelt dries over the rafters like a flag that means, we're still here. The longhouse itself begins to breathe differently. More voices, more light. The door stays open longer during the day. Someone sings again, not well, not loud, but intentionally. And laughter once spills from a corner during the evening meal. No one flinches at it. No one calls it out. It just rises, hangs there for a moment, then settles back into the fire smoke. You begin to think in plans again. The woman with the deep lines by her mouth asks about planting. She draws a rough map in the ash near the hearth, gesturing where new beds could be turned, where the ground drains quickest when the melt finishes. You nod. You add a mark. She doesn't erase it. Later, a younger man, one who didn't speak to you at all before, asks if you know how to fletch arrows. You don't, but you lie and say yes. And when the time comes, you do it badly and he fixes it, and neither of you speaks of it again. That's how trust works here. It's not given. It's assumed until you betray it. And you haven't, not yet. One night the boy sits beside you with something wrapped in cloth. He says nothing, just hands it over. You unwrap it slowly. It's the carving, the one he started before you left. You didn't think he'd finished it. It's crude, flat-faced, wide-shouldered. The lines are awkward and the wood is splintered near the feet, but it looks like you. Not your features, but your shape. Bent slightly forward, holding something heavy, standing still. You want to speak, to say thank you, to ask why, but you don't. Instead, you hold it, and the boy leans against your side. And in that silence, something passes between you that has no word in any language you've ever known. Something heavier than blood, quieter than love, sharper than pride. It's not just that he trusts you. It's that you are becoming the kind of person he might grow into. And you don't want to fail him. Not now. The next morning before dawn, you take him out with you past the traps, deeper into the trees. Not to hunt, not to work, just to walk. The snow is almost gone, the moss is showing. The sky is still gray, but you know that soon it will not be. He finds a sprig of something green. He picks it, frowns at it, hands it to you. You don't know what it is. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's medicine. Maybe it's just proof that this world changes, that this place, so cruel, so cold, so bare, is not only a grave. It is a garden too, if you know how to wait.